Hey Facebook, hi there. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. At the moment, it's 5:47 in Michigan, and it's bitter cold. Bitter, bitter, bitter cold. Well, not bitter cold, but it's cold. I think it's in the 30s, and there's a hint of rain in the sky and floods coming. That little 70-degree weather we had 2 weeks ago was a fake out. What am I going to talk about today? First of all, happy birthday to Kristen. Kristen, I love you. You were such a fun encounter. Kristen is a friend of my cousin, Lynn Marie's, and I was running errands with Lynn Marie before New York, and we were hectic and crazy and wild, and stopped off at Kristen's house. And I can only describe the experience as a blue-collar bartender's powwow meeting. These two women sat down and exchanged all of their to-do lists and everything that was pressing for that day, came up with a game plan, did shots of Apple Crown, hugged it out, and went about their business. And for that encounter and being part of it, I am grateful. Also, Kristen gave me some amazing clothes. Thank you, Kristen. I love it. Love it, love it, love it so much. Some of my best favorite new sweaters came from you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, I won't be with you today as you're celebrating, but I'm with you in spirit. So what are we going to talk about today? I have my bump cup because I thought I would talk about my Uncle Bumpy. I was reflecting on comedy as usual, and my entertaining, my storytelling, and it occurred to me that while I had an incredibly, really close-knit relationship with my uncle, he had never seen me perform. He knew that I did comedy. He knew I had a flair for dramatics, but he had never seen me perform. This man was actually, while he's my uncle, he is my grand uncle. He's my mom's uncle. And so he took on a role of a father figure and sometimes a grandfather while growing up, even though he was an uncle. And those of you who know my story, I was hired by him to be his driver. And I lived with him for 7 months. And he had a very unexpected accident and passed away. And it was sometime after that that I found out it was his big master plan all along to get me to Michigan and get me in a new life and get me his home and give me a new beginning. And so for that, I'm incredibly thankful. This man is such a part of my life. I remember being in 2nd grade and having a horrific bicycle accident where I almost died. I had a fractured skull, a broken nose, a broken cheekbone, immediate scoliosis. I had to permanently stop being a dancer. Up until then, I was in ballet, jazz, and tap, and starting gymnastics. And because of that accident, I couldn't do that anymore. So I'll never know what my life could have been. I could have been a stripper. Who knows? Nothing that a 10-speed bike didn't solve. And I remember him coming to the hospital and all my family being around. The nurses wouldn't let me look in the mirror. because they were afraid that I would go in shock. My whole face was just bruised. This was after a concussion and probably after me being in the hospital for a couple of hours. And I distinctly remember them telling my dad and my uncle that if I made it for the first or the next 24 hours, then I would be in the clear. And my gift from my uncle while I was in the hospital was a baby blue Adidas sweatsuit. And that's just one of those strange memories as a kid. That's what I wore in the hospital and my 2 weeks in the hospital. Later on, when I was like in 5th grade and I was staying at my little Nana's apartment on Elm and Division in Lincoln Park, he would come and pick me up all the time and either take me out to dinner, take me to the zoo, take me on walks in the city. We had this thing where I would go on dates with him, and he would pick me up around 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, something like that, and I'd be all dressed up and go on a date with him, which really amounted to going to a bar, and I had a stack of quarters and I got to play any kind of music I wanted in the bar. One time I got in trouble in the bar. I think they accidentally let a Prince album into the jukebox, and I played it, and the entire bar stopped what they were doing and literally was like, what is this and who played this? And it didn't take long to do the math and figure out that I was the one that played it. And I remember Uncle Bump telling me that that's not the kind of music that you play in a bar. You can play anything you want, but don't play Prince. And my only options were Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Crystal Gayle, Waylon Jennings. As a 5th grader who was wildly addicted to Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and Prince, I had no music options in that bar. But and then he'd bring me home after dinner and turn right back around and go out. So little Nana and her crafty ways of trying to keep him in line. I didn't realize at these dates that I was the babysitter. And I say that with all high respect and honor because my uncle's an amazing man. But it was the product of growing up in the 80s. Anyway, we are both stubborn creatures. While his mother couldn't use me to keep him at home, there were a lot of times Uncle Bump wanted to exercise control over me, and that wasn't possible. The one thing I really respect about him, though, is he had this determination about him. He had such a commanding spirit and a really tough grit about him. He was super charismatic, very funny, very friendly. Everybody loved him. He was a friend to everyone, but he had this like determination in him. For instance, when he was told that it would be advisable for him not to drink coffee anymore, like instantly there was no coffee in the house. No coffee, no Diet Pepsi, nothing in the house but Yeti cups and water. And I was living in the house and had no coffee. And he didn't blink an eye, man. He, if you told him that he had to stop something and it reasoned with him that it was advisable to give up, it was done. And so I often remind myself that I have that man's blood running through my veins, and I have determination and strength and confidence to do anything. But this is the story that I was going to tell, and I hope that I recount it accurately. I have never performed in front of my uncle, though he knew that I was a performer. And he had a very close friend by the name of Sam, who was turning 80, and Sam and Bump were bartenders together, waiters together, at some point lived together in the city in their 20s. They're just great friends. He had a knack for keeping lifetime friends. And so Sam had this dinner party for his 80th birthday, and I was driving Bump at the time. That was my job. So I drove Uncle Bumpy to the birthday party. And what I walked into was a magnificent backyard setting that looked like something you would see in a magazine. There were night lights and tiki burners, tables with linen cloths. Every seating had a plate of the most luxurious olives. I'm talking better than the deli olives. Just beautiful olives and nuts and figs and fruit. And if you walked over to the drink area, there were glass pitchers of water and lemons, and then they had these really ornate decanters that had vodka, bourbon, and I want to say possibly rum and tequila. There were 4 of them, and so it was set up like every typical bar, and had your cans of juice and pop and whatnot. I'm talking, like, this place was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. When you walked in, you just wanted to stand up taller. And they had an Italian spread of food, and everyone in the family had some hospitality background, so there wasn't a crumb in sight. Everywhere you looked, somebody was scraping crumbs, cleaning up, removing utensils. You felt like you were in fine dining, even though you were outdoors. And there was a little bonfire. And as the night progressed, they introduced karaoke, which introduced in me straight up anxiety, because I'm going to do karaoke, but in this setting, I don't know what song to do. It was so elegant. And then to add to the pressure, everyone in Sam's family had been professionally trained. They were actors, opera singers, performed instruments in the symphony. My public school is showing up here. I'm not adequately describing it, but it was top notch. When you were watching this karaoke, for me personally, I felt as though I was at Ravinia at an outdoor concert. It was absolutely magnificent. And the rule to this party is, in honor of Sam's birthday, you couldn't leave his birthday without singing a song. I busied myself in the most codependent way possible. Throwing out garbage, cleaning up, introducing myself to guests at the party, hanging out, just kept busy. And everyone's doing a song. Even Uncle Bump and Sam, they did a Neil Diamond song. And the clock is ticking. We're getting to the end of the night. And it's pretty clear that there's one person who has not sang a song. Me. No, I've done karaoke, and I have a couple of go-tos. I love me some Stevie Wonder, but I just wasn't sure. And having that pressure of such an elegant party, strangers, my uncle, the whole thing. So I reluctantly signed up, and I put my name on a list, and I selected, you might think, by the Cars. Oh, let me just throw this in there. Not only was it just karaoke, but Sam had family members that were playing instruments along with the karaoke tracks. So pressure was on. When they pulled my name out of the bucket and they said, Bobby, we have your song queued up. Uncle Bump looked at me and he goes, "You're singing?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's the rule. I have to sing." Because I didn't know you could sing. Well, we're about to find out. I walked up there and stood on their little makeshift stage, grabbed my microphone, and sang the Cars, You Might Think, to the very best of my nervous ability. And as the lyrics were moving on, and as I was getting into the song, I could see that Uncle Bump would be clapping or tapping his feet or elbowing somebody and pointing to me. And at the closing of the song, this man stood up and clapped and made sure everybody else clapped along with him and made the announcement, "That's my girl. That's my girl." And when I was walking back to the table, he said, "That's incredible. Why would you hide that?" That's my girl. So that is how I introduced to my uncle that I was, in fact, a performer, and I did sing, and I did tell stories, and I did comedy. I will say my rewriting of Tennessee Whiskey, which is 2 lines in a urinal, he didn't clap for that one. He didn't find that one as artistically accomplished. But I will never forget that. His words, "Why would you hide something like that?" And just him standing and clapping. And I share that story because not everyone is overtly out in front of an audience. Sometimes their performance is back of the house and they're never seen. Sometimes their performance is changing diapers. Sometimes the performance is taking care of elderly parents or animals that are passing. Sometimes it's just as simple as being a truck driver and you're on a time crunch and you're being forced to drive well beyond your 11, 12, 13 hours that are legal, and you have to do it, otherwise your family doesn't have food on the table. Whatever you're doing, you're performing. And I think in all of those performances, you deserve someone in your corner standing up and clapping and saying, "That's my girl." And why would you ever hide that? So to Uncle Bump, thank you. And that brings me to the second time in my life that he unexpectedly discovered I was a performer. I can't remember if this was before the birthday party or after, but I do know that while I was living here driving for him, I didn't have my car for the first 2 or 3 months. I was pretty stationary. I'll say that, stationary. And I remember paying a buddy of mine $100 just to come out here so that he could take me back to get my car. I just wanted my car. I wanted some freedom. It was getting repaired. It was well past being repaired and just sitting parked. And I just really wanted my car. So while my friend was here, he came into the house, he met my uncle, he saw the setup, he saw my room that I was living in, and I was so excited to tell him that I had just written something that I thought was pretty raw, and I don't know what I'll use it for, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I remember my door to my bedroom was closed and we were sitting on that giant king-size bed and I was reading the story that I wrote. And along comes Uncle Bump. He busts in the room as though I'm 12 years old again. And he's like, what's going on in here? What y'all doing? You know? And before I could respond, he caught wind of what was happening, which I was reading from a notebook. And he moved closer and listened. And at the end of it, he was like, wow, who wrote that? What are you reading a book? Where did you copy that from? And I said, no, I wrote it. It's all mine. And he's like, that is smart and good. And he looked at my friend, he's like, did you know she could write? And my friend's like, yeah, I did. He goes, that is smart. He's like, you need to do that more often. And so with that, I will read you the story that he very accidentally discovered me reading in Aunt Elaine's bedroom to my friend. This is, I wrote it in September, probably about 2 years now, and it's called Protect Me. I never actually protect me. I don't have a fence, wall, door, lock, and key. Sure, if I accidentally touch a hot stove, I'll jump back to safety. I won't slowly adjust to a flame, temper the burn, or grit my teeth. I won't smile in grief in hopes of the fire approving of me. I'll jump back, not give a damn. The fire may offer much good, but in the end, he will burn me. Never say never when it comes to fire. I protect me. When it comes to the heart, mind, and soul, I'm a house without windows, a vault that doesn't close. I offer shelter, but I personally never sleep. I give my beloved sleep, and I won't expect or ask them to protect me. I will not ask my beloved friend, foe, stranger, or whomever to protect me. I'll pour out my fragrance for my beloved's joy, and I'll cut my hair as currency for my beloved's security. I'll harvest all the cherries, even the leaves, and I'll cut the tree to the root for my beloved's nourishment and food. He'll be warm. I'll give until my beloved sees me bleeding. Then my beloved will rescue me. Then he'll love me. And I'll never have to protect me. Yes, I wrote that. And so when you have somebody in your corner standing up and making everyone applaud and go, that's my girl, don't ever forget that you have every talent and gift inside of you to stand up and applaud for yourself, because you're your own person and you're worthy of protection and love and warmth and security. I guess that's it. I just wanted to share a story about my uncle and how he discovered I was a performer. Oh, and I found an amazing quote. So I'm reading again, The 4 Agreements. Do you believe that I have read this book like 50 times, and I read a page of it again today and found something wildly new? Just new. It's one of those great rich books that is just wildly new. Another day I'll read what I discovered, but I have one quick quote that I thought was pretty cool. Now I'm flipping through it like an anxious crazy. Okay, I found it. All right, here we go. Living is easy with eyes closed. Misunderstanding all that you see. John Lennon. Don't walk around with eyes closed. Don't wait for applause. Stand up and acknowledge that you're your own girl. I love you. I'm Lucinda. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. And I'll be talking to you later. Oh, okay. technically speaking, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I can download these videos and get them on YouTube. Sometimes I can't. I don't know what I'm doing on this screen, but technically speaking, I'm having a rough time. And so my new homework and project is how to stream live on YouTube so I can keep these on my YouTube channel. Because as anybody following me knows, I'm speaking every day because I'm in a writer's block and I'm verbally processing so that I can come up with really great treasures that will heal, bring laughter and joy and smiles to hearts on the show that I'm writing. The show that I'm writing is Laughter Through Shame, and it highlights relationships that are rooted in fear, guilt, and shame, and how to laugh through them so that you come out on the other side and change the world. Because after all, it's your job to stand up and applaud because you're your girl. I love you. I'm Lucinda. Bye. Mwah! Oh my God, Megan, you're watching. I love you. Megan's my cousin who lives next door. I love her so much. I love you, Megan. Bye.